It is my honor today to introduce you to our guest speaker, Roger Hugh Charles Donlon, born January 30th, 1934. He is a retired United States officer who was the first man to receive the Medal of Honor in Vietnam, as well as the first member of the Special Forces so honored. By the way, in case you haven't learned this in your history class, the Medal of Honor is the highest military decoration awarded by the President of the United States in the name of Congress for the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty. Colonel Donlon was born in New York, the 8th child of 10. He attended New York State College of Forestry at Syracuse University. He later joined the United States Air Force in 1953 and was admitted to West Point in 1955. He enlisted in the Army in 1959, went to officer candidate school, and served as a general's aide. In August of 1963, he joined the Special Forces. In May of 1964, Colonel Donlon's team was sent to Vietnam, where they established an outpost at Nam Dong. Early in the morning, July 6, 1964, the base was attacked by a large force of Viet Cong. Under Captain Donlon's leadership, the 2-battalion attack was repulsed. Donlon received the Medal of Honor for his actions. He later retired the rank of colonel. He's written 2 books about his Vietnam experiences. He currently lives in Kansas with his wife. He has 5 children as well. And there are also some other stories that I think are interesting, one of which, you know Jeff and Mark Wright. There were 2 other Wright children at Oakridge. They've graduated. Casey and Linda Wright have been parents at Oakridge for 21 years. And Mrs. Wright's father was at West Point with Colonel Donlon years and years ago. And this is an amazingly small world, all the connections. I think you'll learn of another connection or 2 when Colonel Donlon speaks to you today. But it is my honor and my privilege to welcome Colonel Donlon to the stage of the Oakridge School.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you kindly. Thank you. Well, I'm privileged to be back. I made my first visit here 10 years ago, and I've been on your mailing list, so I know what spirit this school has. And I know the quality that your school produces and what your goals is. I want to ask you to do something that your principal or your headmaster encouraged you not to do. He said, don't start celebrating until this afternoon. So let's start right now. Let me hear a good, there you go, let it go. That's the way. Today, the whole day should be a day of celebration, homecoming. And I feel that just being amongst you. And that's what I'd like to talk about a little bit today and share with you and maybe evoke some questions on your part. Homecoming. I carry this compass with me. This is a compass that I learned to use, this type of compass, when I was about your age. 12 years old, in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York. It was given back to me many years later by my hometown at same Scout Troop 36, along with a little certificate which has my father's signature on it. It's the only thing I have with my father's signature. Daddy was on his deathbed when he signed it, authorizing me to become a Scout and the scout leaders and the committee men to become my surrogate father. To do what? To keep me on course, the course that Daddy set for me, as your parents and your headmasters and teachers are doing here. That course. This is a compass I carry with me to remind me. It's a tangible reminder for me to stay on course. Now this is a magnetic compass, and this keeps me on the geographical and physical course. But as was implied, and as you all know now in your young lives, there are other courses that you have to stay on. Your academic course. And here at Oakridge, you have, and the reputation of your school, great, keeping you on course. The standards here are second to none. You can thank your parents and thank everybody that gives you the opportunity to one day be alumni of this school. Because with that being placed on that course in life will allow you to succeed, not just academically, but in all walks of life. The other important aspect about this school and about your homes is that there's other compasses that you have to keep yourself attuned to and keep on course. Your financial compass, your spiritual and moral compass. You're all of age now that you found out that you are capable of making a mistake, or that somebody that you associate with is capable of making a mistake. That's human nature. We're not always strong and courageous enough to stay on course. But in my life, what I found out, that if you're with the right team and you come from the right type of home, you go to the right schools, you associate with people, there's always going to be somebody, either a member of your family or your classmate or your schoolmate or a teacher or a coach, that's going to recognize when your compasses, you're off course. And they're going to reach out to you and help you pull back on course so that you can continue to be that proud and productive person that you set out to be. And then the time is going to come that you're going to see somebody, one of your friends or classmates, or maybe your brother or sister or youngster, getting off course. Then you have to have the courage and strength to reach out. You have, at this point in your life, been given a great foundation to give you the strength to do that. That's real courage. Now, at times like homecoming, we're talking about courage, and we're talking about the athletic powers of the school. There's physical courage. That's an important aspect. That's being physically healthy. Your teachers are making sure you're mentally healthy. Your pastors and parents are making sure you're morally healthy. All of those things combined will make you a healthy person and a proud and productive citizen. So today is a day to celebrate your homecoming, celebrate your home, your homeroom teachers, and think about how you're going to continue to stay on course. My daddy, when he gave me permission to become a scout, I have to share with you some of the guidelines that he had passed on to me and all my brothers and sisters. He says, remember that your word is your bond, and your signature is a seal to that bond. What does that mean? That means that you must be truthful to yourself, and everyone must know that you are a person of trust. So when I was allowed to become a Boy Scout, one of the first things we learned that a scout is what? Any scouts in here? A scout is trustworthy, then loyal and helpful and friendly, courteous and kind and obedient, cheerful and thrifty, and brave, clean and reverent. All those qualities, you've all heard of them. You're all starting to grow and recognize the importance of those. Those are all just a reflection of what started at home. So I would urge you, find the time today and every day in your life to thank Mom and Dad or Grandma and Grandpa that ensure that you're here at Oakridge getting the education and the foundation that you're getting. Find a time in any day, every day of your life to say thank you. Those two words, thank you. That's why I'm here today. I'm here to say thank you. I'm here as a Medal of Honor recipient here in Texas because there's a great thing happening in this. It's called, Bob, help me, what are we calling? The Sky Ball. The Sky Ball, let me tell you a little about it. There's going to be a lot of festivities going on. The Sky Ball is sponsored by who? American Airlines. They do many things to recognize what goes on here at home in America. And what they do in this particular case, they're recognizing veterans and today's active duty personnel who are protecting our nation, protecting our way of life, the things that you enjoy and the things that you have inherited, the things that you are going to inherit, along with the responsibility to protect and to pass on to your generation, your next generation. But American Airlines is saying thank you to veterans and active duty people. I'm underscoring thank you. I'd like to bring that thank you home a little closer. I want to thank you for the opportunity to return here to Oakridge. And amongst you today, amongst your student body, maybe not in this room here today, is the son of a very special person who I want to say thank you once again to. If you can imagine, 46 years ago, when the reference was made to the Battle of Nam Dong, we were nearly annihilated. Many gave their lives, and then some Marine helicopters arrived to rescue us the next morning. One of those pilots that rescued my men and myself is amongst us, H.T. Nance. H.T., where are you? Sitting right over here. Thank you, H.T. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. That's the school spirit. That's the spirit of America. I mentioned H.T. was the U.S. Marine Corps. Of all our services, the service that epitomized the spirit, they do it better. Yes, I served in the Air Force and I served in the Army, but I have to take my hat off and salute the U.S. Marine Corps for emulating and echoing the spirit of the warrior better than any of our services. And it's that spirit I would like to note. As you study our history, and you study what has been accomplished by our nation, whether it's in business world, or the financial world, or the educational arena, or the military, I think these words apply. It is not only the personnel, the equipment, or the training that will determine the victory of any contest, but it's the spirit that one brings to that battle that will determine the victor. So it's that spirit, the spirit, as I referred to, that the U.S. Marine Corps epitomized, and what you today on the homecoming, that spirit that was echoed when your headmaster came out here, and I sensed it and felt it in the hallway, as I saw that in your step as you walk down the corridors, you have a certain bounce in you, a certain sense of pride. That's that spirit that seed's been planted by your parents and your schools and your teachers. Keep that spirit and nurture it. Don't let that flicker and don't let it lessen. Become combat multipliers for each other. Let that spirit continue to grow. So, those are the simple messages that I wanted to share with you. And more importantly, what I'd like to do is, whatever time we have left, I'd like to open it up to questions what's on your mind and in your heart so that we can make better use of our time. But thank you for listening to what's in my heart. But remember, say thank you, stay on course, never become discouraged. Thank you.
All right. Oh, excuse me. All right, students, if you have a question, if you'll raise your hand, we have time for a few questions here. You may have a question.
Don't be bashful. Up here on the left.
What's your question for Colonel Donlon?
What president gave you the Medal of Honor?
What president presented the award, the Medal of Honor? President Lyndon Johnson on 5 December 1964. Next question.
All right.
How gruesome can war really be?
I missed it.
He asked, how really gruesome can war be?
How
Gruesome, what is war like?
How gruesome can war be? Well, if there's one message that the American airlines and all the activities that's happening here that we as fellow Medal of Honor recipients are participating in, the message is that freedom is not free. Someone is always after your freedom. When that time comes, great sacrifices have to be made. Your question, is war gruesome? Yes, it certainly is. During the battle, when I was told by my medic that one Sergeant John Houston, my youngest sergeant, was killed in action, my immediate thought was, why God, why John, why not me? Why did that thought come to me? One, because he was one of my men. But two, something happened the night before. John shared with me a letter that he received from his wife Alice. In that letter, Alice informed John that they were soon to be proud parents of twins. John was killed. And I knew at that instant, they're young twins that will never get to know their father. The gruesome facts of war. Well, when Alice found out that her husband had been killed in action, she gave premature birth to those twins. Only one twin survived. So when my wife and I go to Arlington National Cemetery to pay our respects to Sergeant John L. Houston, killed in action 6 July 1964, Distinguished Service Cross, Purple Heart, we go to the opposite side of that very same headstone where it's John L. Houston, Jr., 7 July, 8 July 1964. So the casualties of war go far beyond the battlefield. That's how gruesome the war is and will always be. Great sacrifices have to be made. I wear on my lapel today, it's called a service pin, a little field of white with a blue star in the middle surrounded by the red, meaning that we have one of our sons on active duty today. Whenever you see the service flag, tell that person, say thanks. Thanks to the member of your family. Whenever you see somebody in uniform, just say thanks. Thanks for what you do. Or if you look a little more mature, just say thanks and also welcome home. Because nowadays, they're going all over the world to do some gruesome things to protect our way of life. It's at risk. And for you who like to do a little bit of arithmetic, how many people in our society are responsible, what percentage of our society are responsible for protecting our way of life? that make up all our armed forces, 1% of our entire population are shouldering the responsibility to defend our way of life, and are putting their life on the lines day in and day out around the globe in over 100 nations, serving in one way or possible. So us 99 other percent have other ways to say thank you. Look for ways to say thank you. Thank you for the servicemen, but thank you to each other for being proud and productive citizens. Next question, please.
All right, have a couple more questions.
How badly were you outnumbered to the Viet Cong?
How badly were we outnumbered? Well, I was privileged to command a 12-man Special Forces team. I had 6 Vietnamese Special Forces. Then I had 60 special, very loyal Chinese mercenaries. And we were in what we call the inner perimeter. Then we were training 300 of the local indigenous personnel who had no real training, but it was our job to train them sufficiently enough so they could protect their own village and hamlets and protect the routes in and out so that they would not be kidnapped or terrorized or taxed by the enemy. We were pounced upon one night by a force of about 800 or 900. But what I had total faith and trust in were my 12-man team and those 60 Chinese. What I found out years later, of the 300 that we were training, 100 of them were traitors, and they had standing orders to do what? When the battle started, to slit the throat. I'm new to this. This is another first. It's like the first time you get shot at. Their standing orders was to slit the throat or break the neck of the person next to them. So we didn't have 300 people that we were training. We had almost 1,000 against us. So it was a tough night, and it got gruesome. But we pledged before and during our training, rather, that we would never quit, never surrender, or never leave anybody behind. And knowing that we had that trust in each other, that gave us the strength to continue. Then when things happened, like I mentioned, Sergeant Houston was killed, we felt, every one of us, that we had to do something extra special to pick up the load that he could no longer shoulder. Then my senior NCO was killed, died in my arms. And would you believe it? His wife was also expecting. Once again, I said to the good Lord, why Pop, why not me? But I had to find the strength, in spite of being maybe wounded once or twice or 3 or 4 times that night. But we find that strength in the bond that we developed amongst each other. But there's a deeper and stronger strength that we don't think about too often until it happens. And that's the strength we get from the good Lord, from our faith that we instilled in. I talked a little about my daddy and the thing that he said about our word and trust. My mother's guidance was, remember, the good Lord is always on your side. And the family that prays together stays together. If you don't have anything good to say about somebody, don't bother saying it. And Mother and Daddy also had another thing. It happened to be when I was born and what was happening in our country shortly after the Great Depression. There were great economic downturns. Many families suffered. I was born into a family that was once very affluent. But when I came along, the tide had changed and we were very poor, to be quite bluntly. And I can still hear my dad say, remember, sons, daughters, and he called us all by names, It is no sin, no shame to be poor. It is just mighty darn inconvenient. So when you see people are having times that it's mighty inconvenient, if you have the wherewithal and the opportunity, thank God that you are not in their category, and maybe you can dig deep and find a way to help somebody to have less inconvenient times by having a charitable heart.
All right, do we have one more question? Anyone? Close. Over here to Wallace.
How did 9/11 affect you?
How did 9/11 affect me? When I was your age, there was an airplane that flew into the Empire State Building. It was a commercial airline. And I don't think it was a commercial, it was a private. It was a twin engine. I had a sister that was working in New York City at the time, and she called to tell us the plane because she saw it happen. And that's what I thought had happened. There was an accident. But as we all found out, there was no accident. It was a horrendous act of war. How did it affect me? It just really, my first urge was that how can I get back in? Knowing that my time has passed to become part of the active service, I said now it's just another opportunity to me to continue to serve. So that's why I'm here today. 9/11 has affected me in a way that I wish, and I've been able to find ways to continue to serve, to encourage everyone to be grateful for what we have, to be encourage you to say thank you for the generations that preceded you, to present what you have, your freedom today, in your way of life, so that we can continue on this course of being world leaders. But the only way we're going to continue to be world leaders is that we have to believe in ourselves. The only way you can believe in yourself is to be a trustworthy person, to be confident and competent, and become combat multipliers for each other based on your ability to think, and that's what's happening here at school. They're instilling in you and teaching you to be smarter thinkers. You don't have to work harder, you have to work smarter. So stay on course with your academics. Stay on course and following your path. Remember God in your heart. Keep Him in your heart every day. Think about Him. Find your own way of prayer. I've found one of the most solemn way of prayer is to listen. Listen to Mother Nature. Listen to other people. But thank you for asking that question. See, I got my wires crossed. I was asked to share with you something, and I think I've told HT, but I'm about to go back to Vietnam once again in December on this very special mission. Why would I go back? Well, I've been back a couple of times, and I've met the people. The 80% of the total population of Vietnam were born after the Vietnam War. Things are changing. Attitudes are changing. Some of the politics are still there. There's still an anchor of communism, which is slowly eroding. What am I going back for? Well, some fellow veterans and I got together. We're building a library, a children's library, near the Battle of Nam Dang. This library is being dedicated to the men and women, the men who were killed in action on 6 July '64. I'm going back for that dedication in the spirit of reconciliation to help rebuild the bridges of understanding between our nations, to help heal the wounds of war by reaching out, saying thank God for giving us the opportunity. But as I will speak and address a group in Vietnam of your age in December, recognizing that many of them never got to know, most of them never got to know their grandparents. Many of them only know one parent because of the sacrifices that were made. Sacrifices in war are made on both sides. But there comes a time that we think, as we're all part of the human race, we must do whatever we can to reconcile and try to make this a more peaceful world. So I just wanted to share that little event that's coming up with me. But in closing, I'd like to give a gift to each one of you. It's a gift that was given to me over 40 years ago, and it's inscribed in my wedding band. And the message simply reads that what we are is God's gift to us. What we become is our gift to God. Thank you and God bless.